How could you see your people hurt and not care? You got the power to help, but when they need you, not there. Do you love us or not? Cause it's not clear. Your response to this question is my opinion's not fair. But Jesus said you supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, to the point that with the poor you would share your wealth. You could try, but you really can't deny, though the Messiah himself lived with and served his disciples.
Greetings and welcome. We thank you for tuning in. And we are the brothers from the congregation of Israel, the Knesset of Jesus, located here in Buffalo, New York. And you have tuned in to the Law and Testimony. Now, we dealt last time with the topic of Gentiles who are Israel and Israel who are Gentiles. And first thing we went throughout the scriptures, we showed you how the Gentiles in the Bible are strangers and foreigners. And that these are not Israelites, natural-born Hebrew Jews that were scattered abroad. These are not the Gentiles who Paul and the apostles were dealing with here. But what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with this. I'm your host, Brother Nashawn, and I will be reading out the scriptures on these. And again, Brother Zadok, he will be taking us further through the scriptures, and we're going to get a clear understanding on who are Gentiles and who are Israelites. And we'll even touch upon scriptures that may bring out the fact that at times Israelites are called Gentiles and they're scattered about. But see, what we want to do is dispel myth. Because salvation is to all those who fear God and keep his commandments. Amen. So now, without any further delay, Brother Zadok, let's go on and get in the scriptures.
Now, I'm glad you made that point, because we was discussing that, and it's true. You have the Greek word Hellene, which basically signified a Jew who spoke Greek. So that word Hellene is also a derivative of the that carries the connotation of Gentile. Right. But the Greek word for Gentile is ethnos. Now, someone who spoke Greek could also be called a Gentile, just like you and I. We know that according to the flesh, we are Hebrew Israelite. Right. But someone would call us American because of how we speak. Yeah, exactly. You understand what I'm saying? But in no way does that take away from our nationhood. Right. No matter whether men choose to accept us or not. So we know these various things. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that the word ethnos that you will find written all in the book of Acts, all in the letters of Paul, is strictly referring to Gentiles according to their flesh and ethnicity. And the word Helen, when it's used, okay, I'll give you that one. But you're going to have to prove to me that everywhere in this New Testament where we find the word Gentile, that is the word Helen and not the word ethnos. And that's where you're going to fall short.
In this context.
Like in this context.
Like the word love. You got it. There's only one word in English for love. But in the Greek, what? You got agape, you got philos. So same thing with Helena and same thing with ethnos.
So that's a great point. And the reason why we bringing this up is because we don't want to hide from nothing. You know, the cameras is on, we present what we present. Cameras is off, brothers are sitting in council and dialoguing to make sure that we bring up the points of these arguments and the things that we understand, because our purpose is to try and bring our brethren to a common ground so that all of the wall of partition we gonna build up among ourselves, let's not do up again what Christ has undone.
That's right.
Now, brother, I want to go into the book of Genesis, and I want to read chapter 15, because last time we started near the end of part 1, we started to bring up the fact about Abraham and how in the covenant of the circumcision, only Abraham and Ishmael were Hebrew, as far as we can tell. There may have been others there, but they weren't named. But it's clear that there were those who were hired servants, bought with money, and they had children born in Abraham's while they was in Abraham's service, who were circumcised also, and they weren't Hebrew, all of them. Right. So let us go and look at an example of this. Abraham gonna say it out of his own mouth. Genesis 15, we're gonna start reading at verse 1. Genesis 15 and verse 1. And this is when the Lord came and appeared to Abraham in a vision.
After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. And Abram said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus. And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is my heir.
Wait, hold on. So Abraham is letting him know, Lord, I don't have a seed, and you're going to give me this reward. You know what I'm going to do. I'm childless, and the only person I have who fit to take over is this Eleazar of Damascus, my steward. You know what steward mean? that he the head servant in charge.
That's right.
He the only one that I can leave this thing to. And look, somebody born in my house have to be my heir. So it lets you know that a man's house isn't just according to his flesh and blood.
That's right.
It's those who come after his order also. Those who come after his order also. Go ahead and no, we ain't gonna continue. We know what God said. God said, no, he ain't gonna be your heir. I'm gonna give you a child of your seed. But that seed that was to come, that seed that was to come, which will be Isaac, who was gonna inherit. Let's show you that even though Isaac, God was gonna give him his flesh and blood heir, that don't mean that the others who were there already and they were born in Abraham's house, so they had right to inheritance too. That I want to make that point. Abraham said it out of his own mouth. You think Abraham was a dumb man? This is the prophet of God. Didn't he tell Abimelech in a dream, you better not mess with Abraham, treat him right because he a prophet? So this is a prophet, and he had understanding that the ones born in his house, one of them got to be his heir. So God gave him a child of his own flesh.
That's right.
But he had fellow heirs because it was ones who could have got the heirs if he never had been born. They could have got the inheritance, right? So now, let us make this point. Let us go over to Genesis chapter 8, chapter 24. Genesis 24. And you know in chapter 18, when the Lord was going up to Sodom and Gomorrah, he said, yo, can I hide from Abraham that thing which I'm about to do, seeing that Abraham is righteous and he going to teach his house after him? It said he going to teach his children and
His children's children.
His children's children to follow my way. He going to teach his house, the Lord said.
Right.
His house wasn't just his children according to his flesh, because he only had one son who was with him, which was Isaac, and the other Ishmael had been sent away.
That's right.
But who were all the other children of Abraham's house at that time? All those who were born in his house, who he was willing to give the inheritance if he never had a child according to his flesh. Don't deny it. Let us stick to that point and keep that in our minds. Genesis 24, read verse 1 and 2, and let's make this point. Now, Isaac, a grown man, brother. Abraham is old and he's in his last years. So look what Abraham does. Go ahead.
And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had.
Wait, Isaac ruled over all that Abraham had.
It said his eldest servant.
His eldest servant, which was probably the steward of his house, who was Eliezer of Damascus, who he was looking like be his heir.
Or could even be the son.
Or it could be the son. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how Isaac is the heir? God told him, no, he ain't going to be heir. I'm going to give you the child of your flesh. He going to be your heir. But this servant still ruled everything that Abraham had, and God had blessed Abraham with great substance. I just want that to marinate in us. Let us go ahead and move on, brother. Let us go to Exodus chapter 12. Go to Exodus chapter 12. Now, this is the Israelite coming out of Egypt, and we know that when the nation of Israel came out of Egypt, that there was a mixed multitude. There was Goyim left with them.
That's right.
It wasn't just Israelites left, Goyim left with Israel. But in the in the institution of the Passover, there's some interesting things here. Exodus 12, start at verse 43.
And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof.
No stranger, no foreigner.
That's right.
No one who not a native. Go ahead.
But every man's servant that is brought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof.
So he could eat of it once he was brought with your money and he was circumcised.
Right.
Go ahead.
A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof.
But if he not brought with your money, because a hired servant don't mean he your property. He just working for a wage.
That's right.
And a foreigner, someone you just doing business with, somebody in the land during Passover, and they see us keeping Passover, and they like, oh, y'all eating? You know, you being hospitable. Well, no, you can get something to eat, but you ain't gonna touch this lamb. You understand? That's what he mean. The foreigner might be around, but if he ain't circumcised, he ain't touching that Passover lamb. Go ahead and continue, brother.
In one house shall it be eaten.
No, skip down to verse 48.
And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee.
Now, when a stranger shall live with you. Go ahead.
And will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised. And then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof.
He had to come under that covenant just like all the other sojourners and foreigners and those brought with money in Abraham's house in the beginning, from the very beginning.